Welcome back. Today we are going to take another look at what's been happening with our electrolysis setup here and what kind of progress we have. Maybe remove some of the magnetite that's built up on the parts that have been acquiring that. And for today, and today only most likely, I came somewhat prepared with some gloves and paper towels. And, only somewhat prepared. I'll probably grab the trash can because I'll be throwing paper towels into that. And I'll be right back here. Gloves, paper towels, trash can nearby. Cool. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to unhook my electrodes, make this a little more safe to do stuff in and with and around. And next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my sturdy wire brush, and yeah, I know it's rusty and kind of sad looking. Look at all of that rust that's on our sacrificial anode here. I'm just going to put that over my trash can. Sorry, slightly out of view of the camera here. And I'm just going to try and scrape a bunch of that rusty scale stuff off. I try and do this every now and then. I think it helps to keep things going at a fairly efficient pace. And I could be using larger piece of sacrificial steel here, and that would probably help to make the electrolysis go quickly as well. Increasing the amount of surface area that you have on your sacrificial steel is supposed to increase the speed with which this works. So, we got some of that scaly buildup off. There's still a ton on there. Again, this is just to try and increase the efficiency with which the whole setup works, and the speed with which it does remove rust. That's really all it's doing. Try and keep where the cables are connecting to it relatively clean-ish as well. Try and make sure we have good electrical connections. Okay. That seems fairly smooth there. And not fairly smooth there, but better than it was. So I'm just going to set that aside. This is another piece of sacrificial steel because that one just was not very big without a whole lot of surface area, and this also provides a fairly steady base here that I can keep things upright in better position than. And I'm probably not going to be able to use this piece of a bottle jack after I'm all done here, because it'll probably have ate away too much. Maybe, maybe not. I'm not sure. If so, it'll definitely require some inspection and testing, because the sacrificial steel does get eaten up in this process. I had another bar similar to this at one point in time, but a little smaller, and one day I came out and pulled it out, and well, there was no more bar left in the water. Just like a quarter inch that was barely in contact with the water. The rest of it had completely dissolved. Your sacrificial steel does get sacrificed, literally. Alright, and so this will be the first time that I've been able to really take a look at this portion of the beam trolley after it's been in the water. And is that going to hold? Probably, maybe, no. You can really see that there is a tremendous difference here from before I started this process. This had been all so thickly rusted. This is sort of an example, but I mean, this has already had some electrolysis. I've turned it several times. You saw nothing really but rust. You didn't see any clear definition here. Here you can see the steel, and I used the wire brush on this, but ever so slightly, and this was not smooth before I started. Not at all. So you can tell there's a huge difference that has been made. I'm gonna set this down over here on a cardboard. Move that out of the way a little bit. And let's just take a better look at things. So I had this position with this part, especially in the water, because I really wanted to try and break these wheels free so that they could rotate again. That's one of my big goals, is to adjust my mic here, get that so that it can rotate again. And you can see using a wire brush, but it's not really to really get the rust or iron oxide off of there. It's more just to get some of this black magnetite off, and if there's rust that has broken loose but hasn't fallen off, then to get that off. That is just so cool, seeing that little disc in there where it was entirely bumpy before this. Let's grab more tools, smaller ones, because this doesn't really fit in here to where I can brush anything on the inside. I feel like I'm brushing my teeth with my teeth of giant iron discs. And this too, I mean, man, that's a lot of scale in there, but let's see, will this fit in? Kind of, sort of, no, not really. Man, this didn't look like there was a flat spot on that before I began all this. That's just such huge progress. And it's progress without me having to spend a ton of time with a wire brush or with a wire wheel and a drill or grinder. Have a small benchtop grinder, but it'd be hard to position this, and it'd be really hard to get into any of these angles here. And I'll probably try and do something with a wire brush on an angle grinder or drill to kind of clean it up a little bit more once we're closer to being done. But this, I think, it is always going to have that kind of texture, and it might just be that it was forged that way or cast that way. This, I think, was just a standard piece of flat bar that was actually flat to start with. And this part might actually have been added after the fact to help strengthen and reinforce something that already existed. I do like how that's coming along. Let's grab a paper towel and see kind of what it looks like after I can wipe some of that magnetite or loose stuff off. So you can see there's not really much in terms of rust left on the outside of this. It's just that black magnetite. Which the magnetite is sandable and probably paintable. It's not gonna continue rusting like if I'd have left the rust on there. And this is also just a really fast and easy way to get rust off compared to everything else I've done. I mean, vinegar, sure, yeah, it'll work. It'll also eat away at metal. This isn't supposed to eat away at the metal that you clamp the negative side to. Which is one big bonus because you don't want to eat away too much of the metal, especially if it's got a lot of rust where it's already been eating away at the metal, because that can compromise structural integrity. Want to leave as much of this original metal here as I can. Yeah, I mean, I was seeing rust in there, but then it's literally just wiping off. And that's really cool. Here you can see this was black with magnetite, and I tried taking a wire brush or maybe even sandpaper to that, mostly because I was trying to find better places at different angles to clamp things to for my jumper cable. Because I wanted something that was going to get a really good solid electrical connection, so I tried to get some magnetite off a couple little places, and also just kind of see what it looked like underneath once I got, you know, the magnetite and everything off. Checking on progress. And this, I don't know if it didn't get enough electrolysis there yet, or if it's just residue because there's a bunch of rust floating around in the water. I think it's but I just haven't got enough electrolysis on that particular point. But, you know, checking on status, it's nice to see what's underneath. So you can see I've got a lot of the rust off of a lot of parts of this. And what's left in a lot of areas is just that magnetite. You know, I want to be able to actually undo a bunch of these bolts, or all of them actually, and you know, make sure all the parts get cleaned up real nice. Maybe sanded and then painted, just kind of restoring it into a fully functioning condition. And these wheels, you can see they're just rusted into place. And I'm hoping to get those wheels rotating again. And that fan in the background is the battery charger trying to charge up the battery that I've kind of put in the circuit. It does take quite a bit of drain on the battery to do this. It's an old car battery that wasn't quite done but was getting closer to the end of its life anyway. Got replaced a little prematurely as other issues were being troubleshot. So again, what I'm doing here is cleaning it up largely so that you know, when I put it back in, I'll be able to kind of see progress, and hopefully breaking some of that loose stuff off the edges will help to make that progress go faster in the areas that still have work needing to be done. You can see on the outsides of these wheels there is more rust than was on the inside, and that's why I had that electrode kind of sitting right here, floating just a little bit above it. And when I moved it to there instead of out here, it was pulling more from these wheels, but also a lot from this crevice here, where it's rusted the wheel to the outside, and you can see that difference most here, probably because it's got a little more space between the bar and the wheel than here, where it doesn't have quite as much space. On this one, I did take my scraper and I kind of got some junk out of there, which was as much things like tree branches and twigs and dirt and stuff as it was rust. Here I haven't done that so much, I think because when I tried to do that last time, this wheel hadn't had as much time in there, and I just pulled a bunch of that black magnetite out, which should help to get a little bit more flow through there for further electrolysis. This is just a standard paint scraper. One of the best multi-tools that I've ever had for so many different purposes. Yes, for scraping paint, but also for a lot of other things. Comes in so handy. Having a flat piece over here, a curved arc here, flat piece, and then a pick, and then just a flat scraper on the end. It can be useful in so many ways. Yeah, I can see just magnetite caked up around that opening. I'm hearing the little crumbs of it fall into the ground, so I'm just moving my scraper through. Get my fingers a little further out of the way so I don't slip and hurt myself when some of that breaks through. And a note for those of you watching here, looks like after slightly more research, I used way more of that washing soda than I needed to. You're supposed to use about half a cup or a quarter cup for a 5-gallon bucket of water. And I probably have about 5 gallons in that plastic tub, but I have probably put I put some in, then some more, then some more. But further research is telling me that, well, you don't ever need to add more. You can just keep adding water, because the water is going to not just evaporate, but also turn into hydrogen and oxygen through the process. But the rust should settle to the bottom of the tub, and that stuff should just stay in solution, so you don't really need to ever add more. Alright, I think I've had enough of that on that side for now. And I don't know if I can even get a scraper in on this side. Probably not. Let's try and just scrape some scale off here. Visualize progress, but also if I've got scale built up with rust underneath that, then try and expose that so that I can get more electrolysis on that rust that's beneath, if there is. By the way, this is the most scraping that I've done on this since I started this project. I've done light amounts here and there, but never really anything like this, except just a couple of test spots here and there. So this is not a scraping intensive thing, and most of the scraping I'm just doing so that I can visualize my own progress, because it's gratifying to see progress. It makes you feel good. Yay for feeling good. Unless you're one of those people who just doesn't like to feel good. Never met one of you, but kudos to you, I guess. Maybe not. Yeah, I see some junk in here that's literally just like a little piece of pine needles, I guess? Yeah, pine needles. By the way, none of that was going to come out before I even started this. So maybe it's the soaking, maybe it's removing the rust that had kind of trapped it in, but that's just dirt that I'm removing. Dirt, pine needles, organic matter of some sort. Well, as an overall, I'm really happy with my progress. I'd certainly like to see some rust that I do still see here go away, and so it's going to go back in, and I'm probably going to add some more water, and yeah, I'm just debating whether I want to try and get a wrench and pound on some of these things, see if I can get one of those nuts to break loose, because that would just be awesome. That would make me happy. But we'll pause the video here and maybe I'll mess around with that.